This is the Changing Times, Changing Worlds Otherworldly show with speakers and topics to whet the taste of everybody who likes things that are spooky food, things that alternate and complementary versions of healing, like tonight. Ghosts and otherworldly beings and divination and magic and all kinds of fun things like that. We're going to be talking tonight with Starwolf, who is a frequent person who does, who is a speaker on Changing Times, Changing Worlds, often a panelist, which panels are a lot more like these shows are usually. And tonight we're talking about healing stones. Starwolf's talked several other shows about various other kinds of things you can do with rocks. I will note that in the today is the 15th of September, and that makes pick up a stone day. So just an odd holiday. There you go.
It's also the Ides of September.
Yeah. How did it get to be half past September? So Starwolf is a shaman and is a metaphysical engineer and soldier of fortune and a Reiki Master and a professional psychic. And he's and what I like best is his practical approach to adapting traditional metaphysical things to modern lifestyles. So tonight we're going to talk healing rocks. And
yes, and I brought along you may see me doing a lot of shuffling through pages because I've got, basically I have one of my reference books with me.
Stop that. Sorry.
Yeah,
because I can't keep it.
I'm going to say sooner or later I want to ask you about what your favorite books are. And
well, this is one I'm just getting into, by the way. The Alchemy of Stones by Robert Simmons. Can you see that?
Oh, the Alchemy of Simmons. He's a big name.
Yes, he is. Basically, he runs heavenandearthjewelry.com up in Vermont, though he now is in New Zealand. Lucky him. But let's see, I've got another reference here for him because this is the most recent of their catalogs. I just don't have enough room to do stuff like this.
Heaven and Earth, huh?
Yes. And their catalog is this big, thick thing full of rocks and things they've made with it and their new discoveries, all sorts of toys. So.
And last time we were talking about stones, we were talking about we mentioned the melodies "Love Is in the Earth."
Yes, which is another great book.
My go-to.
By the way, both the Book of Stones by Robert Simmons, and Love Is in the Earth come in pocket guides now.
I love the pocket size.
Yes, they're perfect for shoving in your bag when you go to a rock show. Just make sure that the person. Yeah, because the others, well, Melody's collection, if you have all of them, it makes an excellent doorstop.
Yes.
Because the pile is literally between the main book, the 3 supplements, the color photographic supplement, and the book of crystal layouts, you're looking about 15 pounds of books.
Yeah, because Jen and I have a copy of the original plus the revision, and these are mighty meaty paperbacks.
Yes. The advantage of the pocket-sized over the bigger one is that the pocket-sized actually has small thumbnail-sized color pictures, as does the Pocket Book of Stones. But like I said, those live in my my work bag. Simply, that gives me something to reference for people, or when I'm at a New Age fair and somebody has rocks, because stones can be addictive.
Oh yeah.
Ask me about the 60 pounds of quartz crystals that I'm slowly sorting through.
The ones that we talked about and said, you're safe now.
I'm only safe because I didn't go to the Northeast Gem and Mineral Show this year, or the East Coast Gem and Mineral, which happened 2 weeks ago.
That's another resource, I think.
Yes, it is. It's called the East Coast Gem and Mineral. It happens once a year in West Springfield on the grounds of the Big E. It is basically, for those of you who've been to the Big E, they take the Better Living Center and the Young Building these days. The Better Living Center contains retail. The Young Building contains wholesale. And if you possess some sort of tax license or resale license, you get to go in there. And they have all sorts of things. Unfortunately, my favorite place is a crystal dealer who has a $100 minimum. So it's amazing how quickly I can hit $100.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been there, done that.
Yes.
I see Janet agreeing with us.
Any other resources you want to?
That's about it for, books and places. There are, you can, Heaven and Earth deals online. I prefer to, whenever possible, to actually fondle the stones first.
Yeah.
But over the last year or so, it's been mostly, I want that, and that, and in this weight range, send. I do have one complaint, and that is about their wire wrap pendants. They have a tendency, the stones have a tendency to pop out.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, they're no longer making them in Vermont. They're all being made in China, and it's a very quick system. They make a bunch of settings, put the stones in, and twist the wires into a cute little curly Q, which locks them in place, and they tend to pop out. I'm in the process of turning my various crystal necklaces into more bags of crystals for my pocket. Oh, goody. I'm going to need suspenders soon.
I was going to say reinforced pockets.
No, suspenders.
And a belt.
I already have that. I've got to put another hole in it tonight because I've lost sufficient weight that I need another hole. Yay.
Okay, unless we're going to go long, can I turn you back to what's good for what?
Yes. What? Okay. Let's start with, well, seeing we already have osteoarthritis mentioned.
Yes.
Let's start with stones that, excuse me while I consult my book. Let's start with stones that are good for pain. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Pain, pain relief. Okay. The two that he recommends are magnetized hematite.
Okay.
And argonite stars. Argonite, those come from Spain. Argonite comes in a couple of forms. The stars are when multiple crystals butt together. It's a nice reddish, orange, sometimes red-brown stone. I would also suggest for physical pain, malachite is very good. That also deals with emotional pain. Once again, carry them, put them between your mattress and your box spring. I'm very big on shoving stuff under the mattress. Just make sure you have a mattress thick enough that you don't reenact the Princess and the Pea.
Yeah, really. But that's interesting because I'm hitting this point where it's not like my gout or anything else, which is under control, but I'll try to walk and there will be this resistance and pain in my ankle or my knee. Or I'll get up in the morning and my hands are swollen and stiff and the knuckles hurt. And if I press on them, it's not a good thing.
That's fluid building up in the joint. I'm going to suggest, at least for the hands, wear mittens when you go to bed. It'll keep your hands warm and it'll cut down on the swelling. That's what I do in the winter. I have a pair of stretchy gloves that just go on, and I wake up, and when I peel them off, my joints still work.
No, that's good, because it's like when I was in the hospital, they gave me these fluffy blue socks with rubber stripes on them so that I didn't slip on the floor. And I tend to wear those as bed socks these days.
Yeah. As far as the joints kind of locking up, unfortunately, I think the cartilage in your joints are wearing away because that stuff has a finite life.
That's what the doctor says.
That's the
I'm
mechanism.
I'm losing the cartilage, and lockup is one of the primary symptoms of that.
Yeah. Once again, if you can keep the joints warm, that will help. And
I'm sorry that was me laughing. I wanted to see what a Argonite star looked like.
Yes.
And so I went to the visuals, and it said, "Here's a pink Argonite star, $5 crossed out, $3.99 used on Etsy."
Used?
Used.
Okay.
It was the used that made me laugh.
Well, yeah,
actually,
okay.
That focuses into another question you brought up, the ethical sourcing of crystals. Unfortunately, unless you know or own a source, most of the crystals we get, especially if they come from Brazil, they are not exactly done with love and care from Mother Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I have quartz crystals that I have pulled out of bins at rock shops that are still vibrating from the blasting powder that blew open what amounts to the large geodes, commonly known as pockets in the when they're that big, that blew open the geodes for them to pull out the crystals.
Right.
You know, what amazes me though is people showing pictures of these things sitting on the floor. They say, "This is the largest geode found." No, the largest geodes are too bloody big to put in a building. Some of them are 3 or 4 miles long.
Yes.
It's like,
They have a really huge one down at the Boston Science Museum.
Yeah, hydrothermal vents, basically.
Yep.
And
old ones, because you don't want to necessarily cut into an active one. That could be bad.
Well, that could be like, considering how hot the water is in a hydrothermal vent, yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
Yes. Did anybody see the scene in Volcano when the 3 sewer workers got cooked? Yeah, it would be like that.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Rewatched that recently.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
But
well, Sean,
okay.
Well, I'm going to toss out one on behalf of Jen.
Yeah.
Which would be very helpful. She had a fall fairly recently, and she is now about 3 weeks into recovery from post-concussion syndrome, which means lots of dizziness and any stuff like that.
Yeah. I have to avoid digital screens as much as I can, for instance. I get dizzy.
Right, and a Zoom meeting is just like
I'm sure it's sheer agony.
But the doctors have ruled out bleeding or other malfunctions, and they were very thorough about that. So it's now about, how do we just like cope with this? Is there anything we can do essentially as palliative care?
Standard analgesis to begin with, having had several concussions myself.
I did not actually hit my head. My brain got sloshed inside.
Yeah.
That was what was so fascinating about it. It was a non-impact concussion.
But you still have a contra-coup, basically bruise on your brain.
Like shaken baby syndrome.
Exactly.
Actually, now that you mention that, that actually fits what happened to Jan, because there's no evidence either on the furniture or on her head that she hit anything, but she's definitely showing signs of concussion. And I was wondering if there is anything just to relieve this.
I'm actually looking it up right now.
Okay, well, that's good.
Because
my first thought would be to go to another version of complementary medicine, which would be Jijo acupressure. Hey, why not use them all? Use everything you can get your hands on.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, because Jijo acupressure in general I'm familiar with. That specific version I am not.
Dizziness, see vertigo. Okay.
Yes.
Vertigo is exactly it. Disequilibrium.
Okay. It feels like my brain doesn't move when my head does.
Vertigo. Okay. Blue apatite, azurite, fairy wand quartz, fluorite, muscovite, sapphire blue, and stibnite.
Well, I know we have fluorite.
Okay.
But where?
And muscovite's relatively easy to find. You can get that at pretty much any rock shop. Siberian blue quartz that's actually a man-made quartz from Russia that you can get from, yes, heaven and earth. I should really be getting a bloody commission every time I say that.
I was going to say, why aren't you getting a bird dog on all of these endorsements?
To be registered sales agent.
With a little disclaimer is, we may get a commission on anything we talk about.
Doubt if that will ever happen.
My laptop is absolutely not cooperating, so the phone is it.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
But, actually, let me do a quick look up. I know they have, no, because if you're having a hard time looking at a screen, I'm not going to. Actually, there's another one, another lab-created stone that might work too is dark blue obsidian, because I'm noticing the things that these stones have in common seem to be that they're all blue stones, with the exception of muscovite, which is kind of pinkish.
Okay.
Blue stone.
Yeah, they seem to be blue stones. I mean, blue apatite, azurite, blue sapphire.
Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot of those particular ones, though, so.
Huh?
No. But I wanted a guideline as to what sort of stones would actually be helpful if we had them.
Yeah.
Because, if all goes well.
I could be like this for weeks more.
Yeah, so if you've got fluorite, I would suggest, once again, sticking it under the mattress. Or if you're not like me and you don't tend to mash your pillows, you could stick them inside the pillowcase.
Mm.
The main problem is they tend to wander if you do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that would actually be something horribly practical for us right now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you know where the stone chip necklaces are, we've got fluorite.
Yeah.
All right. Those are in a couple of boxes at Mom's garage. I could probably lay my hands on quickly.
Well, back to more general. But I was surprised. My favorite anti-pain one is the blue kyanite, which
that would work too.
I use that with back pain a lot.
Yeah, that would work as well.
I'm going to take my kyanite.
I just tuck it in the back of my belt, and it has an amazing effect.
Yeah, I don't have many tuckable places.
But well, I got a piece of blue kyanite, not a huge one, but I'm suddenly inspired to stick it someplace because I have this constant back pain.
Size doesn't necessarily mean anything, first and foremost.
Yay!
Because we're working, yes, a man saying size doesn't mean anything.
No, bigger ones usually cost more. So this is
among other things, unless you've got a good source. But once again, that sounds, a lot of these, because we're dealing with pain, sound like they would work best when you're asleep. So what you might consider
if I
doing
could get to sleep, that would be great.
Is setting up what almost amounts to a stone layout under your mattress on top of the box spring, because then they won't shift. And because you will be sleeping there or trying to sleep, that should help.
Yeah, and that's the point, because I have nights where I sleep very well, And then I have nights like last night where the lower back just ached. And of course, just my luck, I forgot to think about it. So I got my flu shot in my right arm and it hurt like hell. And I said, you know, if I'd had it in my left arm, it wouldn't hurt so much to lie on my right side, which is how I like to sleep.
Yeah, that's why I get all my shots in my left arm.
I'm going to try to remember that. But,
right in the wild boar tattoo on my shoulder. Let's see.
So, yeah, so the idea of having something I can put under the mattress that would help. There are positions I really actually like being in, but the lower back starts to hurt.
Yeah. Okay, Bill, we got a lot of rocks to go through.
Oh yeah.
All right, more rocks.
Okay. Yes, more rocks. Okay. Let's get back to the fact that if you don't have a specific rock, of course, the general fill-in is clear quartz.
Of course.
You know, that's Starwolf's first rule of thumb is if you don't have the right stone, use clear quartz. If you don't have the right incense, use sandalwood. If you don't have the right color candle, a white candle will do. So,
okay.
Next question, because I should have printed them out, but it's been busy. I get home and I collapse. So once again, I have my, let's see. We were talking pain and vertigo. There, let's see, getting to the next, the big one that hits all of us at this point who are heading towards that. I'm going to see if they have anything specifically for arthritis. AR. Autoimmune, which technically arthritis is an autoimmune disorder. That part of it that's not just plain old-fashioned just friction. Red adventurine would work as a palliative. Yeah, for many years, adventurine apparently only came in green, but they've now started discovering it in not just the green, which was actually one of the first stones I ever owned, but also red and blue. And it's basically like lepidolite. It's quartz with minute inclusions of mica in it. The main difference is lepidolite is purple, and because it contains lithium, which is why it's really good for depression. And remember, ozerite and turquoise are kind of cousins, so you know that will help too. Though it tends to be more of a green stone. So I can just keep going through conditions that will all probably be suffering from eventually. And let's see.
I think, okay, what do you got for digestion?
Oh, aventurine.
Oh, they got a lot for digestion.
That's a good one.
Yeah, digestive issues. Well, let's see. Let's start with fire agate, which is always one of my favorites. Moss agate. Agni gold danbarite. Golden bud stone. Gold sheen opal. Oh, sorry, obsidian golden sheen. Common opal, brown or black. Chrysolite. Sapphire yellow. Scapolite pink. Tourmaline golden. You'll notice a lot of these tend to be, because you know the stomach is located in the area of the third chakra, a lot of them are yellow stones.
Yeah.
So once again, there is a certain amount of correspondence to the chakra, though I don't know, though technically that point stones for vertigo should be violet as opposed to or indigo as opposed to just blue.
Right.
So you might, and of course there's always adventurine, which is not aventurine, amethyst, which is good for just about anything except for people who are really hypersensitive.
Right.
According to, back when Kathy was just learning things, she said that amethyst basically rubbed out all her borders.
Oh.
Made her too open, too too receptive. So
lost her boundaries then.
Yeah. Whereas I love the stuff, once again, having the psychic sensitivity of a cinder block. You laugh, but that's pretty much it.
No, we laugh because we understand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a good point because we do get it. Because I am a lot less sensitive than Jen is. But I still work with this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it does have the advantage that I can handle things that put people who are far more psychic into an, oh my God. About the only things I can't work with are seraphimite and angelite because they tend to leave burns. And I think that may be psychosomatic because of their association with, quote, the heavenly host.
Okay.
But
well, it sounds like we're gonna. I don't want to stop you off of what works for what, but one of the things I did want to cover was what do you have warnings about things? Because a lot of people who get excited about something just start experimenting and what.
I have one warning. I have a big warning. Any lead or copper-based mineral, do not make an elixir in the normal fashion where you put it in the water or the alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, there's magnetic hematite.
Yes, because what happens is, well, you don't necessarily want to be drinking a solution of lead oxide. I mean, it'll taste great. It'll taste nice and sweet, and it'll cook your brain slow, swelling of the brain and all that sort of thing. But the trick I have for using like azurite, which is a copper-based mineral, or turquoise, is I take a plastic coin tube, the kind that usually about the size that they use for quarters. They're kind of stubby, and well, I put some wax on the inside of the lid in order to make a seal, put the thing in, seal it up, and then put it in the liquid. You get the effect without the necessarily poisoning whoever's going to take it. And then, leave it out in the moonlight or in the sunlight. That's my big caveat when you're working with stones. Also, wearing lead-based minerals like galena next to your skin could be bad.
Right. And then there are fun things like cinnabar, which sounds like...
The good news is it's very hard to get actual cinnabar. Most stuff that's listed as cinnabar these days is actually plastic coming from China. It just happens to be that color. And once cinnabar has been polished, that usually forms a seal over it.
All right.
Pure cinnabar, I wouldn't. Yeah.
The mercury exposure isn't that great then.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you happen to have you happen to be one of these people who has a very, very acidic body chemistry, and you basically your sweat basically will make a litmus paper react. Then wearing cinnabar jewelry, wearing a cinnabar charm would perhaps not be wise.
Yeah.
But once again, that's something, you could put it in a container, put the container in a little bag and put it around your neck, and that would be relatively safe.
Amulet bags should be a thing again for people.
Yeah.
Now you talk about these coin tubes and stuff like that. Now, are very small Ziploc bags good enough?
Yes,
or
That would work as long as the stone doesn't have a lot of sharp edges, because it'll eventually chew through the plastic. That's the problem I've had with several. It's a case of having them chew their way out. But once again, if it's within a bag, in your pocket, around your neck, you should be relatively safe.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those cases of you want to. It's just like I have purchased for display and for when we actually have an actual changing times again, a piece of Trinityite. That is a material that can be gotten only one place in the world. Well, probably several places, but my source is in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And it was created in 1945 when they detonated the second atomic bomb.
Okay.
Small amounts of it have been released into the market. It's no longer lethal, but carrying it is not something I would do. And taking it out of its plastic mounting, which blocks the alpha and beta radiation it's still giving out. They buried most of the stuff that's giving off enough gamma radiation to create the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, because that.
What often the problem is the really good-looking stuff is once again it's going to be hot for another 10,000 years. Yet it looks basically like Molovite. So I wouldn't wear it around my neck. That would be bad. Just like there's a substance called pitch blende, which is a beautiful glossy black mineral. Don't wear it. If you have a piece, keep it in a container, preferably not close to your body because it is radioactive. It contains uranium, it contains radium, it contains polonium. And not only is the radiation toxic, but polonium specifically is chemically poisonous. It's up there with arsenic in terms of, even if it wasn't radioactive, it would still hurt you.
Right. And I shudder at the thought of how much of that stuff Pierre and Marie Curie went through to isolate their little sample of radium.
They shifted literally several metric tons of the stuff.
Right. And they actually had enough radioactivity going on that if you walked into their lab at night, all of the glassware was glowing.
Yes. Well, they also made a glass like that during the Depression. That's how they got that beautiful greenish color.
Oh, yeah.
They put, the uranium glass that's still vaguely hot.
It glows under UV light.
Yeah, and if you leave it on for like 24 hours on top of an X-ray plate, it will leave an impression because it's sufficiently radioactive. Which, you have to be careful about things like that because, radiation is actually, it's not just released from nuclear reactors and atomic bombs. It's in the environment around us. Granite is vaguely radioactive.
Right, and you get cosmic rays through the atmosphere.
Exactly. So, radiation is both good and bad because radiation helped cure my prostate cancer. It's also leaving me exhausted most of the time. But there are certain minerals that I would advise against, and, any radioactive ore. The good news is most radioactive isotopes are unattainable by people like you and me. But, I remember having I had the the same people who made my chemistry set, the Gilbert company had the radiation lab.
Really?
And yes, it had, among other things, it had an irradiated bead on a pin to build a cloud chamber. It had samples of uranium ore.
Oh, And I only thought they made erector sets.
No, they also did chemistry. I had both the chemistry set and the radiation lab.
Well, I got all my chemistry stuff from Perfect Parts Corporation.
No, that's where I would restock my chemicals. But you know, that is until recently that stuff was just in the environment. You can still run into it. I mean, they do sell at mineral shows. You can find people selling radioactive minerals. I'm not buying any.
And you can have my share.
Once again, because a lot of the uranium and higher energy radioactives are not just dangerous because of their radiation, but they're toxic metals.
So
plutonium.
I think plutonium's the worst.
Have you finished your list of toxic stones?
Yeah, pretty much. The ones you can obtain are anything based on lead or copper.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that. Do you have some popular names?
Let's see. Azurite, malachite. Though malachite, once polished, is once again, it's relatively safe.
Right.
Galena, which doesn't polish well, but I wouldn't put it past the Brazilians to try and produce galena beads. That's basically lead ore. Okay. One of the advantage of Melody's books is she gives the chemical formulas for the minerals. So if you look at it and you see PB, capital P, small b, in the makeup, and it's anywhere near the beginning of the, as it were, the chemical makeup, you might not want to wear it. PB being the chemical signature for lead.
Right.
Long-term contact with tin base, so like cassiterite, can produce some skin irritations.
Stibnite too?
What?
Stibnite?
Stibnite, yeah, I believe that's either lead or tin, but yeah, once again,
that's definitely tin.
But once again, if it's been polished, you're relatively safe. The truth is, pretty much any metal, if you get enough of it in your system, is going to prove poisonous. Silver will do that. There's actually a condition called silver disease. Your skin gets kind of gray, your nails get thick and brittle, your joints start to hurt. Yes, the concept you can be poisoned by silver and not be a werewolf.
Well, for that matter, the whole idea of being poisoned by iron, and the people who can't chelate iron and have to be careful what breakfast cereals they have.
I've got friends like that.
Yeah.
I've got friends who have to be careful what water they drink because of the amount. I have several friends that when they are out in Western Pennsylvania have to make sure they're drinking bottled or filtered water because of the amount of ferrous sulfate in the water.
Oh, wow.
Well, not only...
Yeah, and ferrous sulfate is something because my doctor has me taking that.
Yes, but when you drink it in water or eat food that's been cooked into it, ferrous sulfate has another side effect. It's a rather potent laxative.
No shit.
Oh, yeah.
Or actually,
well,
the origin, by the way, of most of the cases of Penzic plague. I was at it one year. I had a plastic bottle that had filled from the water point. I hadn't capped it. 15 minutes later, the water had turned brown because the iron and sulfur had interacted with the oxygen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And about another 30 minutes later, there was about a half an inch of dark brown sludge in the bottom.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Yeah, you look at the solar showers from long-term Penzic goers.
Yeah, they got brown.
Yeah.
But you know, you also get the same problem of you're getting ferrous sulfate is what doctors give you if you're anemic, and that makes you very, very constipated and you're shitting bricks. And whereas
if you're not anemic, you're having the other problem.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's on. You know, it's.
What is it? Have you heard about no Moldavite in the bedroom?
What?
Wouldn't know because we have lots of it in the bedroom.
Okay.
You know, it's never affected us. What are they actually saying that it will do, aside from the fact that it's probably going to increase the energy levels in your life? Because
right, the chaos stone winds up everything.
You see, I don't find Moldavite. I find actually one of the few stones I can actually feel. I find Moldavite very calming.
Yeah.
Really?
I find
we don't.
It harnesses chaos energy.
Yeah.
Harness, yeah. Well, maybe I'm not real good at harnessing.
I understand it. It's basically very personal. The warnings about it are some people can, some people can't.
Moldavite is definitely not for everybody.
True.
I think it's because it's often suggested for soothing and grounding and mellowing, and some people it has what is that stuff they give to people with ADHD?
It's like Ritalin.
Yeah.
Where
Ritalin, yeah.
They have a paradoxical effect where it produces the opposite effect.
That's so totally fascinating. Because we always, it was like, if you want to break loose energy and make it move, you wear Moldavite. That's what I've always felt.
It depends.
Oh, well, your mileage will vary.
I've got some of it tucked into my hat.
Okay.
If you're already a very kinetic person and you carry this stone, then it resonates in sympathy. And so you end up with almost like galloping Gertie kind of situation where the energy in the stone and your personal energy are just feeding off each other and amping it up.
Yeah,
well, that's interesting.
I also tend to have mine in the high energy stones bag, which includes things like I have Tibetan tektite in there. I have Libyan gold tektite. I've got a piece of Tibetan black quartz. I've got the stones that it works with.
Yeah, because I'm a very concrete person as opposed to abstract. So I guess it tends to work on me in the physical realm more than anything else.
It's trying to basically break down the barriers that keep you from being a little more abstract.
Well, that could be, and that would not be a bad thing.
I would not suggest that's the one I would not suggest putting under your mattress.
You are you mentioned your high energy stones bag.
Yes.
If we have somebody here who is beginning to be interested in stone, what are you going to suggest for your very first here's my healing stones collection?
I would actually suggest start with the various colored calcites. Calcite is a very well, among other things, you can get them that correspond to just about all of the chakras. So that gives you a basic healing set. Calcite tends to be reasonably benign when it comes to people. It tends not to bite.
Oh, that's good.
You know, my main problem is I put out so much energy apparently that I have on more than one occasion melted the stuff.
Not to mention what you do with electronics.
Yeah, but that's also another one that I would probably use the sealed in a bottle to make an elixir, simply because there's the possibility, especially with raw calcite, it is a little bit water soluble because it is basically crystallized calcium. Same thing. The same thing I would suggest with selenite. Same thing. And with selenite, I'd really suggest buying polished because it will shed little bits of itself.
Oh, yeah.
And those can get under the skin, and you can get nice little pus pockets until they dissolve or the body ejects them. You know, if you're going to handle unpolished selenite, handle it wearing gloves. It's like it's like fiberglass.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, selenite.
So,
you're
suggesting the calcites. What about rose quartz?
Oh, definitely. I don't know anybody for whom rose quartz does bad things. The worst it will do with you is it will do nothing. Smoky quartz as well, because it is it's a nice grounding stone. It's another one of it doesn't have to be cleansed because it's a self-cleanser. Along with the kyanites. Black tourmaline is another one. Among other things, black tourmaline is relatively easy to obtain. And given that you can't really get a good root chakra stone for a beginning kit, a piece of black tourmaline will work very well for that.
Arkenstone, did you have a comment or a question? I noticed you started talking there.
Yeah, I found that selenite tends to blow away loose astral spirit energy.
It does that.
It's like handling it. I wouldn't have it laying around your bed or near where you sit or what have you. And if anything else, if you're not using it, I wrap it in plastic. I find it very good for actually cleansing walls and stuff that's got impregnated negative stuff in it. All you have to do is squeeze the end of the stalk. The electric activity in your hand is enough to activate it. And if you want it just sit it someplace, if you point it north-south, because it's got a spiral helical structure in it, it'll actually the magnetic lines will actually activate it. So, but I know the selenite not only is the like you said, it acts like asbestos, but the selenium is not a good metal to absorb either.
Well, selenite doesn't actually contain selenium. It's another one of it's crystalline gypsum. It's basically calcium and water and a little bit of carbon flying in formation. Selenium, that's another one of the poisonous ones, and anything can well, once again, if it's locked up in a crystalline structure, it'll probably be relatively safe, but pure selenium is going that's going to, among other things, do nasty things to your bone marrow. I used to fix copiers and basically my trunk, because we had the photoreceptor drums, which were coated with a mixture of arsenic and selenium.
Oh,
yeah,
good stuff. Well, you made me think of I remember showing you that giant chunk of fishtail selenite that we have.
Yes,
and that made me wonder, because we have a little wand of it as well. But I look at this slab, so you got to think about that.
Yeah, but no, selenium or selenite, like I said, does not contain selenium, thankfully.
I thought it had
mushrooms do, but mushrooms do, but they contain it in a form that is you can metabolize. But like I said, where was I? The selenite is also another one. If you're making an elixir, seal it in a bottle before you put it in the water, because it is also water soluble. It's only gypsum. That's the stuff they make plaster of Paris out of. So unless you want your expensive, beautiful piece of selenium to turn into white powder in the bottom of the bottle.
No, thank you, no.
No, yeah. It's also one that if you have a big enough piece, you could just put the bottle on top of it and let it do its thing.
Okay.
Okay, you've talked about wearing things, and as Jenny said, you can put them in little bags or under your bed, or you can make packages to tie them in. We've mentioned elixirs, but how about you get really clear for a new member how you make an elixir?
Okay, a gemstone elixir is basically you take a carrier. It can be water, It can be brandy. I prefer water simply because alcohol and my blood sugar medicines do not mix. You place the stone in a clean glass jar, preferably clear glass. You fill it with the liquid, you cap it, and I tend to leave them on the kitchen windowsill at night where they can be exposed to the moonlight. It's also the same way I make moon water. I also make sun water. I've got two kinds of moon waters. I've got the full moon water, which I put a nice clear quartz in the bottom, and I've got dark moon water, which contains a smoky quartz. But you leave them at least overnight. Sometimes an entire cycle of the full moon will work. Just remember to cover them during the daytime. Not so much that the sunlight will, as it were, undo the alchemy, but sunlight on certain crystals, they start to vibrate. And if they vibrate fast enough, they'll shatter. Or if they're curved in the right direction, they will magnify the sun like a magnifying glass. Which is why people are always told to cover your crystal ball with a cloth if it's going to be sitting anywhere near a window, because those things make excellent magnifying lenses. Note the optical acrylic ones do not do that. And plain glass has enough inclusions that it won't work quite as well.
So moonlight is the key for elixirs, though.
Yes. Unless you're making sun water, in which case sunlight obviously is.
Okay, what about a lab-grown crystal?
I have no problem with them. Given that chemically they're identical, a lot of times they lack the inclusions or the flaws that make crystals fragile. One of my favorites, and it's not actually lab grown, it's actually naturally artificially produced. It's a substance called zincite. It's an orangish mineral. It's found naturally in New Jersey, where it's in a matrix with a whitish rock whose name I can't remember. It comes from Poland, where it grows in the cooling towers of zinc white smelters. Huh. What happens is the zinc from the fumes from the smelters, as they're cooling things, literally it crystallizes out on the cooling veins of the smelters, and they're covered in these from pale orange all the way to almost reddish black crystals, created basically from the fumes crystallizing out.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, the supply of Polish zinkites are intermittent, because they only happen when a cooling tower is being taken down for repairs.
Oh.
And they clean the cooling veins off. And then suddenly there's zincite everywhere. And then it disappears for a year or so. For the same reason. It also depends on how much zinc white's being used, because artists use it. That's the basic of the basic material in the flake white that people use to prime their canvases. I don't use it because I use acrylics, so I don't need vaguely poisonous chemicals.
What about radiated stones? I know a lot of stones get different colors from radiation.
Once again, the biggest one I can think of is, well, let's see, the naturally irradiated stone is smoky quartz. Smoky quartz comes when clear quartz has been exposed over the course of tens of thousands of years to naturally existing radiation. That's why it darkens. You could theoretically put a clear quartz under a high output X-ray machine, and you would get the same effect. It would also register on a Geiger counter, so I wouldn't do it that way. The other stone I can think of most commonly modified is citrine. I bring this up all the time.
Oh yeah.
basically natural citrine that you can actually say it came out of the ground yellow is relatively rare, and it's expensive. So what happens is, especially in Brazil where they have a lot of amethyst, they heat it up to the point where it drives most of the iron out of the crystal, and turns it yellow. Now, once again, unless you know, citrine is citrine at that point. One way to tell, however, is a lot of times the surface will be a little bit pitted, and it'll have almost like ashy inclusions on the surface. Because a lot of times all they're doing is chucking them into campfires and seeing what breaks and what doesn't. Understand, these mining operations are not the highest technology. It's usually a bulldozer, a couple of jackhammers, some blasting materials, and a lot of picks and shovels. So they don't necessarily have the controlled way. I mean, people have been modifying stones since the Egyptians started dyeing turquoise to make it more vibrantly blue. There's a Roman treatise by Pliny the Elder, unfortunately now lost, on the treating of stones, including cooking agates to change their colors.
Okay.
So, you know, the concept of cooking stones to change the color goes back at least, well, Pliny died in what, 73 AD during the eruption of Vesuvius.
Oh, the Elder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his treatise was lost in the second burning of the Library of Alexandria.
I guess not enough Romans wanted to read encyclopedias of natural history.
No, just remember the first one was actually an accident.
Oh, shit. How many done? I was going to do them while we were doing this.
Caesar ordered the Egyptian fleet burned, and the sparks caught all the way to the library.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of the things that people really want to hear.
Yeah, because it's not.
Okay, you said earlier size doesn't matter.
Yeah, a good example being Herkimer diamonds.
Yeah.
Herkimer diamonds range in size from the size of a match head all the way. Actually, I've got smaller ones, but those are only really good for putting in epoxy. To honkin' pieces the size of your fist. They're naturally shiny. They're natural double terminated. But I found a lot of times the really small ones are the ones that put out the most energy, and they have the advantage you can tuck them anywhere. You could theoretically, if it's small enough, put it between the sole, a cushioned insole in your shoe and the actual sole of your shoe, and walk around on it and not feel any discomfort.
But what would it do?
Well, put out a lot of energy that would feed right up into your root chakra and probably open the entire chakra column all the way up. I a lot of times use them as power sources when I'm making things. If you can get ones that have carbon inclusions, those are very good for opening up chakras. That's one of the ingredients.
I'm bouncing around here, but so you're saying basically that people can use any size. They could use beads. They can use big
beads are very good. Beads, chips, they're a very good way to obtain, especially expensive or highly esoteric stones.
So little tiny ones are fine?
Yes.
You just have to sort them. After you buy it by the scoop, you have to sort them.
Yeah, you have to sort and know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Or you can go to a good rock shop where they've broken down a bunch of bead strands of chips, and they put them in bins so that people can make jewelry out of them, and you can buy them that way. A lot of times those don't run much more than anywhere from 25 cents to $1 each.
When it comes to gemstone beads, though, anything from 4 to 8 millimeters is a good small size that isn't often very expensive.
Exactly.
You just have to be careful how much energy you put into them, because sometimes they shatter in really enthusiastic ways.
People who shatter gemstones are another subject altogether.
Yeah. But that's a story for another night. But, you know, as somebody who's wearing several chip necklaces, including golden azezulite, my basic defensive necklace of alternating jet and amber beads, another necklace consisting of alternating iolites and master shamanite beads. That is my journey necklace. These are all basically smaller versions of my ceremonial wear, so I have them on all the time, so I'm always ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot easier on the neck.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, size. Basically, if it's the size of a.
Okay, yeah, finish size and then go on to shape.
Size. The real practical thing is if you can manipulate it, it's a good size. If it's so small that you could actually lose it under your fingernail, maybe that's a little too small. But as far as shape goes, given that a lot of these stones, while they have a crystalline structure, they're usually found or available in what they call a massive form. For example, rose quartz. You rarely find actual rose quartz crystals.
Right.
Rose quartz is usually formed in massive, and if you have something that looks like a crystal, it's actually been artificially shaped.
Mm-hmm.
So the shape doesn't really matter, except that things with kind of arrowhead shapes, you should probably use that basically as the energy comes out this way.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I've never seen
a skull. I know I've seen skulls.
You mean like the one I'm wearing right here, cut out of obsidian?
Yeah.
Well, obsidian once again only forms in massive because it's basically amorphous silica. But crystal skulls, yeah. Once again, I would. When it comes to shapes, it's literally a matter of personal choice. I've seen very tiny crystal skull beads. Indeed, I saw some. We were at a rock shop here in Connecticut called Nature's Art. They had some wonderful clear and smoky quartz skull beads, and I want to make a necklace. And it's going to run me somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 or $400 to get enough skull beads to do that.
The thing to remember about crystals, if I can just step in for a second.
Yeah.
The structure of the crystal is present throughout the entire piece of it you have.
Bingo.
And repeats itself all over.
Exactly.
Whether the outside shape has been compromised or not.
That's why if you have a crystal that's been broken in half, the two pieces, among other things, remain connected.
Yep.
Well, it's like holograms.
Yes, very much so. Remember, the first holograms were burnt into pieces of lab quartz.
The shape can be important as far as your connection to it.
Right.
It's the
a crystal skull, a crystal ankh, but that's for the symbolism behind the shape. And you know, if you're looking for a crystal skull, my suggestion is get one that doesn't look like a monkey skull, because a lot of them do. I got lucky in the 2 crystal skulls that are in the portable shrine to the Dark Ladies. Both of them look like human. I have a crystal one for La Santa Muerte, and I have one cut out of lava for Hela. And boy, do those two get along famously. It's perhaps the first time, you know, either one of them will willingly share a shrine with another deity, because they're 2 gods with, basically they sit up and hold a tea party. Or given La Santa Muerte actually a tequila party.
Well, I was going to say like Freya and Breed.
Freya and Breed, Freya and Ishtar. You want to talk two goddesses that get along very, very well? You do not want to be around when they decide to party.
No.
Okay, I've heard of people programming their stones, and I know that you can talk to a rock. I'm more likely to talk to a boulder outside than I am to a crystal. But
knowing you're talking to the Vetir that are living inside it.
The stone beings speak very slowly, and it's hard for me to slow down that much. But I just can't believe that taking fingernail polish and painting it on a tumbled stone is going to change what that crystal likes to do just because you put a symbol on it.
Fingernail
polish? Depends. Once again, it depends on the symbol.
And the energy behind it.
Exactly. I mean, look at the literally thousands of crystal rune sets that are out there.
That's what I was thinking of.
But is that any different than painting it on a piece of wood or painting it, in my case, on chicken bones? Aside from the fact that I had to eat all of those chicken wings to get 32 matching bones, because there's a certain amount of variation in the size of chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see you showing people that set.
Given that, yeah, well,
when we go live again.
Yeah, when we go live, because my kit will be with me, and what I really need to do is I need to set it up, take a picture of it, and then just keep it in a file that I can just put up on various forums, like I did with my drum.
Oh, nice.
Another thing that I remember that people do with crystals is put them in candles.
Did you just say new people?
What?
New
Did
people.
you just say people?
Do I hang around with odd people? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. When somebody's making a spell candle, if they're molding their own, a lot of times they will put crystals in. For example, if they're making a love candle, they will put rose quartz in.
Mm-hmm.
If they're making a purification candle, they'll put, let's see, there's a bunch of rocks you can put in for that. If they're making a "Hi, I'm going to kill you" candle, I'd actually put baneful herbs in it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I don't count treasure candles because those are meant to have stuff in them.
Yeah.
I've got friends who are addicted to treasure
in theory,
candles.
when it burns down, the energy of the flame is going to release the energy of the crystal. And
what it's most likely to do, if the flame is burning hot enough, is it's going to crack the crystal.
Yeah.
Because crystals are especially quartz-based crystals, and a lot of the things we use, when you look at them, there's some variation on quartz. All of the agates, those are all massive forms of crystalline silicon dioxide, SiO2. It comes in many forms and many shapes. And once you get it hot enough, it starts to vibrate. And once it vibrates fast enough, any flaws, or if it's a piece of massive, the endless microscopic crystals that make up that piece are going to start saying bye to each other. And it's going to shatter along whatever fault lines exist inside it.
So that's really neat to watch happen. To be perfectly honest, as long as you're at a safe distance, it is very nifty.
Yes. Okay. If you're not, you could end up with a trip to the eye doctor.
Yeah.
Or any other kind of doctor, simply because, well, kaboom.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
Having had pieces of hot crystal stuck into me at odd moments.
Mm-hmm.
Well, among other things, certain epoxies, the really fast curing ones, produce a lot of heat. as they cure. And I've actually had them turn amethyst yellow. They generate so much heat.
Wow.
And I've had one or two shatter, and the pieces, because I was still holding the piece, a couple got driven into my finger. Yeah, that. Be very careful when you are mounting crystals on things as to what epoxies you use. I tend to use the several hour, or better yet, 24-hour epoxies, because they do not produce heat. Also, super glue.
Oh.
Really useful. Do not use an accelerator on it.
Oh.
Because when the accelerator hits, that stuff superheats. And you can literally burn yourself.
So, getting it exploded into you sounds like the superhero origin story.
Well, obviously not. It didn't hit the right spots. That usually has to get buried in your chest.
Yeah, and not. You think splinters are bad? Yeah, having something clear under your skin is just not pleasant.
Yes. Yes, having had those extracted, or sometimes having to wait for them literally to get infected and pus up so I can then just burst it and get it out.
Yeah.
It's as bad as having glass slivers under your skin.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
Except that glass doesn't vibrate.
No, that's because glass is amorphous.
Yes.
There's the difference between glass and quartz. They are both silicon dioxide with impurities.
Yeah.
The main difference is glass is a supercooled liquid that is still flowing, because if you go into a really old building like, say, Faneuil Hall, or Sturbridge or Plymouth, and they have authentic 17th century glass in the windows, it'll be thicker at the bottom than it is at the top because it is still flowing.
Yep.
Anyway, okay, since we're going late,
I'm going to need to stop soon because I'm going to need to eat.
Yes.
But
what have you not hit that you wanted to hit?
I think I've hit about everything. I mean, I think I'm going to need to come back for at least one more crystal discussion.
Do you have any cautionary notes as to what metals to use with what crystals?
Once again, it depends on whether you're going to wear it or not. If you're going to wear it, I would stay away from metals that are going to corrode in contact with your body.
Yeah.
Silver and gold work best, simply because they are, relatively speaking, inert. They're not energetically inert, but they are chemically inert when it comes to you. Titanium and niobium are also pretty good. Basically, if they make surgical bits out of it, it will probably work okay. Once again, if you're going to use pewter, make sure that it's a non-lead based pewter.
Yep. Yes.
Once again, for the whole, you don't want to be absorbing lead through your skin.
Or anywhere else.
Yeah, well.
I'm sorry, Starwolf, I got confused. Orion is coming back for his co-creative ritual on the 29th. We're open on the 22nd if you can do it again next week.
Sure,
and just
why not?
Continue this.
Why not?
Okay, then Starwolf Healing Crystals Part 2 will be on the 22nd.
Yep.
Then we can close up now.
Maybe I'll get into some of the expensive stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like if you're not looking for gem quality, what you can find in terms of the colored gemstones that have been around since diamonds were pretty rocks because they couldn't facet the damn things.
Okay, well, since we've got you coming back, I'm willing to turn this off.
Good, because I need to eat so that I can test my blood sugar while I'm still awake.
Good idea.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you
have a good
so
night,
much.
people.
Yeah, thank you.
You are a wonderful resource.
I try to be.
Oh, right. And before I leave, I should say, yes, everybody, tell your friends and remember to reserve for the conference, which is coming up in November. And we are looking for, it's going to be Monday through Friday, it'll be evenings, and Saturday and Sunday, it'll be all day long. It's November 8th to 14th. And so please please tell your friends about it, and thank you.